Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Joe Goodhew.
My head's reeling, Mr. Speaker. It's been a very long time since I've heard this side of the House described as the summer of love territory. But anyway, the purpose of this particular bill has been aptly described by a previous speaker, the chair of the Select Committee, as going backwards. And I'd have to say it's not even back to the future, it's simply going straight ahead backwards. And the changes that the member wishes to bring into play in this bill simply only make sense to me if the member has only been listening to one particular group. So not the schools that I know Tracy Martin visits on a regular basis. She's very good at visiting schools. She has good connections into schools. This is a compliment, Ms. Martin, and you should take it as such. You are one of the good ones that talks to schools, not talks to just the union. And in fact, that's what happens on this side of the House. We visit schools. So let me tell you what schools have been saying to me lately, what conversations we've been having, because there is one thing that comes through every single time, and it's the child at the centre of it and the child's education. It's not all about what we call their professional body. In fact, they haven't raised it at all. What they wanted to know was that there would be teachers on that body, and there are, irrespective of who appoints them. Now, the Education Council came before the Select Committee just recently, and yes, as the previous member on her feet from the Green Party said, they are charged with lifting the status of the profession. But the profession let themselves down so jolly often that certainly hasn't helped. So when I go into schools, the school teachers and principals want to talk to me about children and behaviour, which is challenging the teaching profession because they're really tough to deal with. They want to talk to me about the coals, and I would like to mention to the House the coals, because we've got to an amazing milestone with more than 500,000 students operating in schools, where we've got a phenomenal number, 1,100 teachers and principals appointed to new positions in communities of learning. It's not a small amount of money we're investing in improving the education of children at the centre of this. To me, it reminds me of a musical we did at school where one of the songs was called What's in a Name? It was Dracula Spectacular, I have to say. And here we are debating the very name of this organisation. When it comes to a code, we have heard from the Education Council there has been huge collaboration in the way the code has been put together. The sector have got very engaged in it. Actually, the sector obviously get it. It's not in what you call it, it's what's in it. It's what's in the education, it's what's in the profession that means that they deliver status to themselves. And that, I think, is what we should be thinking about. So the conversations that are happening on that side of the House are clearly very different to what we're listening to. A conversation with the union will get a very different conversation to a conversation with school principals and with school teachers, getting into the schools and asking them not what's the matter with them, but what matters to them. And what they tell me is that the children are at the centre of what matters to them. It's not the name of something. They want to know that the teaching profession is valued. I get that. And great teachers are the best asset we can have in our children's lives, other than amazing parents. So put the two together and children will succeed. But We need to, as a government, be doing all we can to make sure there are more and more and more great teachers in our schools and fantastic principals, and that they are sharing their skills around so there's more and more fantastic schools delivering for our students. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Tracy Martin.
Mr. Speaker.